I hope you're having a great evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Coach McVay Show, presented by Microsoft Surface. I'm JB, along with the head coach of your Los Angeles Rams. They've won 3 in a row to get back to 500 at 4-4, coming home from Seattle, and a well-earned day off for the players today, I understand.
No, it's great. We've got an extra day with the Monday game coming up at home. I will say this. I don't know how many weeks it's been. I love DeMarco, and he's always brought a nice presence, but there might be something to this just two-man deal. It's been when is the last time he's been a part of this?
He's actually out in the lobby. He's here. He's available. He just doesn't want to mess with the flow.
I'm not okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I love DeMarco, but that's he is the man. I'm looking at the show with JB and DeMarco, and it's just seemed like it's just been a two-man gig the last couple weeks.
Well, you won't be here next week. We'll be talking to Les, so
There
we're
you go.
shaking the whole thing up.
Good.
Your reflections flying back home? Why don't we start there? Like, what dawned on you as you reflected on that win and what it took to get it in overtime?
Here's what I would say, JB. When I reflect on things, you look at the memories over time and, some of the things that you don't ever want to take for granted. And I was really proud of our football team. There is a lot of things that, from just a pure coaching perspective, man, we can clean up execution-wise. But the grit, the resilience, the mental toughness, we come in that locker room at 13-3, and there was a lot of reasons for us to hold our head. And a lot of it was because of, our own mistakes that give them opportunities that, we really didn't do what we were supposed to do. And, we lost our poise in some situations, but we regathered our poise. And then 2 possessions later, it's a 13-13 game, and then it's a back and forth. And like I had said after the post game, defenses controlled the game for the most part, but I thought our guys were at their best in the most important moments. It was really cool to see the way that the defense stepped up and applied consistent pressure. It was really cool to see that stop on 4th down and 1 in the 2 preceding plays. When you look at what Jared Verse did on the 3rd and 1 to get it to 4th and 1, and what you look at what Kam Kinchens did on 2nd and 6 to get it to a 3rd and 1, and then how the offense then takes that momentum that's snatched by the defense and goes 4 plays, and then Matthews throwing a walk-off to Demarcus Robinson, 2 other receivers and Tutu Atwell and Tyler Johnson make big critical catches, and then Kyron had a tough hard-earned run that kept us in a normal down and distance. But it was a team win. A lot of things that we can learn. I think we've learned a lot about this group in 8 weeks. And I think we've learned a lot about this group, especially in the last 3 weeks since we've come off of the bye. And I want to see us continue to move forward with the right spirit, and I do trust that the group will do that.
All right, let's go through some of that, and let's work backwards, starting with the game winner. And first, Coach, I want you and our audience to enjoy this incredible shot that Yusuf Rouser got of the Matthew Stafford to Demarcus Robinson touchdown. Rams Studios has kind of bought into your ethos, right? Situational mastery, being your best when your best is required. Enjoy this at 120 frames per second, so we're seeing it 5 times slower than game speed.
Oh, nice.
Is that cinematic or what?
That is really cool. Yeah, that is a great shot. Wow. When this thing went up, you were confident. I couldn't really see, but then I did see DeMarcus. I mean, what a job right there. The way that he got up, I said, well, shoot, his body language is telling me he for sure caught that. And then the pandemonium that took place after this. But what a job by him. 4 touchdowns in the last couple weeks. That's a great shot by, who did you say got that one?
Yusuf.
That's awesome. Great job by Yusuf there.
Career-high 5th touchdown this season for DeMarcus. He took that massive hit at the end of regulation, too. They put a flag down initially, picked it up, but bounces back for the game winner.
Yeah, he did. And, thought we had a chance to be able to get ourselves in field goal range there. They picked that flag up. Didn't go down the way we wanted, but our guys just kept playing the next snap. And that's been a consistent theme with this group. And I think it's going to serve us well if we continue to make it a strength as we navigate these last 9 games.
How critical was Cooper holding that edge to even get Matthew in position to read that deep to short?
It's everything. You've got to have guys when you're running some of those different things, understand the nuances of what's required. Cooper does a great job. It was a very similar look to what we had presented on the very previous play, previous play, and that's the kind of selflessness that we look for in our football team. Our receiver group, that's been a staple for us under Eric Yarber's leadership, and for a guy that has a bunch of catches and a bunch of yards, for him to be the one that's kind of securing the edge to allow Matthew to get that ball up and down for the game winner seems appropriate.
Yeah. With a couple touchdown passes in Week 9, Stafford now has 366, and his career ties Eli Manning for 10th most in NFL history. And I know this is not the concern for the present moment, but it seems like more and more memories are kind of being added to his Canton case.
Yes.
Here in 2024. I think we're there.
I think so. You look at it and you look at the consistency over time, the type of competitor he is. I think one of the best compliments you can give him is what he does to people around him. He elevates them. He certainly has done that in the last 3 wins that we've been able to get off. And there was a lot of instances, even when we had come up short, where he was doing that. And so love the never say die attitude, the toughness, the ability to be able to make all types of throws and change his arm slot. And there's another one to add to the resume. But, Canton, I see him. I don't see it any other way than whenever he decides he's done, putting on a gold jacket after that.
Yeah, there were a couple other plays between him and Demarcus, too, that I thought we might be leading this show with. Like that early third quarter, 1st and 10, where he's got a free runner bearing down on him and drops it in a bucket. Like, that gets overshadowed as an incredible toss.
It was incredible. As a man coverage right there, he ends up being able to throw it off drift, and, he recognized that was the add-on. We've got to do a better job of being able to handle some of those different things up front. We'll learn from it, but he was able to overcome it in that situation right there.
And I know you're not sleeping on how filthy that goal line separation was from Demarcus on the first touchdown.
That was great. That was a really good route. Great job getting it up and down. And, he's got that ability to be able to get parallel, and he's got that suddenness and that twitch that is why he's a really good separator.
I hope we're in these seats a couple months from now reminding ourselves of the catch that Tyler Johnson made to begin that drive, because that could go down as one of the more consequential plays of the season.
Yeah, it was huge. It was a good job. They're in a kind of a match split safety coverage where it's kind of they're reading some of the different things, and Woolen comes off, and it's a little bit later than typically where you anticipate that ball being completed. But Tyler was able to step in front of him, and you can see Woolen's kind of waiting to catch it, and then, TJ does a great job aggressively stepping back to it, and Matthew had the confidence, and that got us going. To be able to come away with an explosive and it happening right on our sidelines, you could just feel our players, use that momentum and that energy that was created by both Matthew and Tyler in that situation. And really, that play doesn't get off if it's not for Kyron saving the protection. Again, some things that we can certainly clean up, but what a job by Kyron Williams being able to kind of level back with Ernest blitzing when we didn't, handle that. And that's what football is about. It's a team sport, picking each other up, and there was a lot of examples of that occurring yesterday.
I saw where you were on the sideline. From your vantage point, did you have the same, oh, please no, reaction?
No, I actually felt good because the angle that Tyler was coming at, I felt like he was going to aggressively step to it. It played out a little bit different, but I never felt like, just the way that it was kind of developed in front of me, I could kind of feel out of my periph that Woolen had fallen off, but when Matthew let that go and where Tyler was coming from, it was an amazing play, but you could feel that just based on that vantage point that I had, that was a possibility. And it only, the reason I felt so confident is because of the confidence I have in the way that Tyler Johnson attacks back to the football.
Can you take us inside the 4th down stop? And you reference a couple plays preceding it too, but Bobby Brown had to bounce out of that drive earlier, I think, comes back from that injury to get in there when it matters most.
It was a huge play. We ended up taking the timeout. It was a really good call by our defensive staff to be able to get into that personnel, match them with what we thought they were going to be able to do. And we had the movement, tied up right, and Bobby Brown does an incredible job, and then Omar Speights being able to cap it off. But it was really a key and critical defensive stop as a team. But Bobby Brown deserves a ton of credit. I thought he was all over the place, especially on some of the early downs, really made a positive impact. And to come back after he had gotten his elbow a little bit, that was big time. Happy for Bobby.
Is it overstating it? I know you were impressed last week, too. He might have put together back-to-back some of his best games as a Ram these last 2 games.
I think that's a fair statement, and I think he's really worked hard throughout the course of the week, and you really see a lot of that practice preparation performance equaling game reality for him. I think he's got such tremendous respect for Gift Smith and for A.C. Carter, and he's really tapping into some of the things that they're asking of him to be able to take his game to the next level, and he's been a major contributor for us. It's been awesome to see Bobby continue to do his thing.
Omar doing the types of things he needs to do on game day to keep earning more?
I think so. I think all he's done is maximize his opportunities, and that goes for a lot of these young guys that just seem like they're in the right spot at the right time, but there's a physicality, there's a violence. When he arrives, he's got a good concept trigger, and what a great job being able to kind of just go over the top, and then, to be able to have the contact balance, and then to be able to get the knockback right there. That's why you get the stop, and that's why offense gets the ball back with no points there.
You go to overtime and the coin toss happens, and I think those of us who follow and live and breathe Rams football had that same reaction you did, right?
Yeah.
Which is okay. But like, what's cool about following a team is you see these opportunities to improve in various ways.
Yeah.
And to go from week 1 losing against the ground game of Detroit essentially
Sure.
to where you were in week 9 getting those run stuffs, is that the sign of growth you hope to see?
I think so. You know, in a lot of instances, I mean, football is an amazing game. You know, there's so many different things that lead to achieving and, you know, accomplishing the result that you're hunting up. But the ability for guys to just play that next snap, you know, especially because, you know, we get a false start and they end up hitting another explosive and, you know, they're in scoring position. And there's a lot of reasons for guys to just say, oh, man, you kind of just turn it off. And I never sense that. This group has an amazing resilience, an amazing just authentic energy and enthusiasm to be able to say, all right, make them snap it one more time. And I think there was a lot of people that could go that direction, but it does feel like there's been a lot of cool things that have occurred from that moment since, you know, from week 1 in Detroit to yesterday. And ultimately, the guys, they held up in the most critical moment and did a great job.
All right, Kam Kinchens next. It was technically scored as a fumble and a recovery in the end zone. I know you and Matthew both had some fun with that post game, but like,
he was way more. You know,
what'd the tape say?
Yeah, no, he was in.
He's good to go.
Yeah, they made it, and some of the coaches, you know, let's finish through the letters and logos, no doubt. But he finished in the front, you know, the front part of the letters and logos. But I mean, he was a good few yards into the end zone from my vantage point. But you could see he realized, and I think he could hear me in his head from some of the things we talk about on Fridays, and he picked that ball back up to ensure it. But I saw it as he had scored, and by the time he let that ball down, he was already in the end zone.
I just talked to him. You know what's funny about that is his disappointment was that distraction stole what could have been his celebration. Like, he did something, I don't know what it was, because we were all watching the football and how he reacted to that, but that was not the highlight. Given your appreciation for the game, I think you'll like this. Only 2 defensive touchdowns in the last 30 years have been longer than that one.
Yeah.
They both belong to Hall of Famer Ed Reed.
That's cool.
And given their connection through Miami, like, that just feels so right.
That is cool. Something about the U. But that was a great play for him in a moment that we had to have. You know, when he made that catch right away, you're thinking, oh, don't take it out. Oh, good decision to take it out. And what a great job to be able to finish that play. And, you know, we needed every single play that he made yesterday, and he made a handful of key and critical ones.
He is the youngest Ram on your roster, just turned 22 years of age. So he's tied for the longest interception touchdown return by a rookie in NFL history. Where was Kam Kinchens on January 2017 when you were hired as the Rams head coach? Any idea?
I have no idea.
Freshman in high school.
How about that? And now I'm getting old. Now you're showing
it's about
my age.
time. Like, you're no longer the youngest coach in the league.
That's
you
right.
just went up against McDonald's. So now it's time to just embrace
He's the youngest, you know, and then we'll see Jared Mayo in a couple weeks. But it is, you know, what's interesting is, I will say this, though, JB, there's a lot of things when I reflect back on what a blessing it's been to be here, you know, being in your 8th season and, you know, 7.5 years through it. There's an appreciation for things that maybe I wouldn't have appreciated early on in the tenure. And those are cool things to reflect back on, and the relationships, the memories, the experiences that you have, and the different ways that you're identifying, all right, what does this team look like compared to previous teams? And, you know, I've heard John Wooden say it, sometimes comparison can become the thief of joy.
Yep.
You know, but it's how do we maximize this group, and how do you make sure that you celebrate the small victories and enjoy every single moment and the different things that occur in the midst of that journey. And I do think that we're doing that as a coaching staff, and that is one of the things that I've tried to do and be better about, and I think we're headed in a positive direction there.
Rams have scored on defense for 4 straight games. That hasn't happened since the merger. I legitimately don't know how Kitchens saw the second interception.
Yeah.
Like, that went around the tight end.
Yeah, you could see it was great reactions by him, you know, because he's tracking his guy back across the formation, and he sees, you know, Geno threw a firm ball, and he kind of got caught up in the trash before he could escape to the flat. And for him to be able to have the presence to realize it and then be able to react and catch it, you know, great ball skills, and that's a lot harder catch than what it looked like just relative to the space that was between he and Geno there.
How about Braden Fiske chucking that tight end to disrupt the timing and make that possible?
It was big. That's the reason that the play had a chance to develop, because you can see Geno's trying to throw a firm ball through where he's expecting that tight end to be. Fiske holds him up as he's sifting across the line of scrimmage, and that's what led to Kam being able to make that play.
7 sacks for the Rams, most since 2020 in a trip to Washington, and just about everyone had a hand in it, but Fiske seemed to be the driving force. Did you have a favorite pass rush of his yesterday?
I mean, some of the individual ones, it might have even been the one where he probably didn't get charted with the sack, where he kind of backs his way into it and gets blocked. But I thought just he was so active, and you could really see, I thought, the integrity that we rushed with. Everybody had a hand in it, but Braden seemed like, you're recognizing the film and you're saying, man, you feel him. You've heard me mention that before. You felt his impact on the game from the first quarter through the fourth and into the overtime period. And, obviously it was cool for him to be able to get those 2 solo ones, but he certainly had a hand. I don't know exactly how the stats, it looked like he was responsible for more than just 2 when I watched the film again closely.
I woke up this morning thinking about the conviction it took on draft day and in that room, right? Because I could go back and read some receipts, and I did this morning, like one of the biggest overpays in recent draft history to trade the capital that you did to go get him. I imagine you would be willing to send Carolina even a conditional 7th as a Christmas present for the right to have Braden Fiske now.
Here's what I think has been cool about some of the things that have occurred here. There's a lot of, decisions that you don't take lightly, but, there is a conviction in the ones that we do make. And if there's a belief in a person, I think, we naturally have a tendency to tie, all right, well, what are previous comps, different things like that. There was a belief and there was an ability at that time to be able to go up and get them. We wanted to make an aggressive move to do that. Les, his staff, myself and our coaching staff, there was a unanimous buy-in with the human being. And that's what this is still about. This is a people business. And we bet on Braden Fiske, and he's going to continue to mature. He's going to continue to grow. I was happy for him, but that's been a culmination of a lot of work that's been done, in practices, at his career, when you go back to college and from off-season to training camp, he's our kind of guy, and that's why we believed in him. And yesterday was a cool way for him to impact the game in a positive way.
I thought it was wise and strategic of your defensive front to get all the neutral zone infractions out of the way in a game in which they were just totally wrecking shop, so that we wouldn't notice and they wouldn't be responsible for any consequences.
You know what? It's funny. It was a weird dynamic in regards to how much you're dominating, and then all those explosives come on, free plays where he must have had a hell of a cadence yesterday. Because guys that are more disciplined than that, but all kidding aside, those are great learning opportunities, where you say, guys, we can't do this. We're too good for this. Let's focus on this, because they weren't blocking us anyway. So how about we key the ball, we play within the framework of the discipline and the detail that we need to, and don't give them opportunity where you're giving them basically free plays. And to their credit, they maximized. They got a ton of yardage off of those plays.
Yeah. We wish a happy birthday to Jared Verse today, and because of what he does to impact the passer, I feel like a lot like Aaron, who came before him, his early down run defense might forever be shadowed over the course of what we hope is a great career.
Yep.
Was his internal rush defense grade as good as it was externally?
Yeah, it was. I think he's playing within himself. He played a bunch of snaps. Our defense, we played too many snaps as a whole. I think that's a reflection of, we got to be better at sustaining drives offensively, and then we've got to do a good job of minimizing some of the things where we allowed them to extend drives like you and I talked about. But he was really good. I think he's played really well over the last handful of weeks, and his physicality, some of the different things. You look at what he did on the 3rd and 1 to be able to get it to 4th and 1. Amazing play. They tried to run a little bit of a sift scheme where they brought the tight end back across the formation in a gun far look, and he ends up beating the tight end and makes a tackle for loss. So he has impacted the game in a variety of ways. He's been a grown man, and we've loved what we've seen from him.
If you were to build a roster from scratch in the NFL, you would obviously want to start with a franchise quarterback.
Yep.
And then we could debate, what next? Like a top-tier receiver, a rock-solid offensive line. But a young, consistent, diverse, multiple pass rush, that's right there on the short list, I imagine.
It sure is. That's a way that you can impact games. And when you're playing that way on the front, you make the 2nd and 3rd levels of the defense better. Everything is sped up. You're earning the opportunity to be in more favorable down and distances. And so I think they've been a key cog in why things have gone well for us defensively, and why we've been able to put pressure on these quarterbacks.
What will we see next? Another 103-yard pick six or a Puka Nacua ejection?
Definitely 103-yard pick six.
That's kind of my thought too.
Yeah.
What's the takeaway there? Anything?
Learning op. You know, it's one of those deals. I said it afterwards, and I believe this guy, I love this guy. I love what he's about. All the things we talked about in terms of the makeup of, whether it's the Jared versus the Braden Fiske that we've talked about at length here today, that's what Puka Nacua is as well. He's emotional, and I think AD used to have a great saying, want to play with a controlled aggression. And because he's such a special player, there's always going to be an intent to try to be able to get under his skin. He'll learn from it. He's all about the right kind of stuff. And sometimes those learning opportunities can be the best ways that you can apply it moving forward and where the real growth can occur. And I know he's going to use that the right way.
I felt for you, though, because I said after the Vikings win, Sean finally gets to use the play sheet that he burned at halftime of the Detroit game. And now here you are at halftime of this game, and it's out the window again.
And I thought guys stepped up. You know, if there's one thing that I think our group has been able to do, it's adjust and adapt. And so we'd prefer not to have to do that quite as much, but it has really taught us a lot about some of these players that have earned the right for us to have a lot of confidence in them. And I think that's been the coolest thing that you take away.
All right, let's get to some injury cleanup stuff. I heard you tell the media that Rob Havenstein, unfortunately, will miss the Monday Night Football game with his ankle injury. So who steps in there? Is it Noteboom or Warren McClendon?
Yeah, I think both of those guys are candidates. Okay. You know, we'll get Joe back up and active. I thought he had a good week of practice last week, but those are two possible candidates. Both of them have started at the right tackle position for us, JB, and so we'll see what that looks like. You'll get with the coaches. We'll start to look at the film, and I do believe it's about matchups, so we'll see.
I was thinking, is there any way Sean will bite on a trade deadline question? Will he tell us what's going to happen here overnight on the Coach McVay Show?
Yeah.
I figured the answer is no. So how about if I offered you Steve Avila and Jonah Jackson coming back at the deadline?
That would be
work
something
for
that
you?
would take, yes. And that's a possibility for us. You know, I think those guys have kind of been teasing us, doing some work off to the side with our trainers, and they look healthy. They've been putting a lot of work in behind the scenes, and I think this week will represent, you start their clocks with the hope and optimism that they could be active participants against the Dolphins.
And then the backdrop for Kinchens, of course, is Kam Curl battled through a knee. He was questionable and started, could not finish that game, and so the rookie gets his opportunity.
He did, and I thought, you know, Kam was ready. You know, Kam Curl was ready to go. I thought he made his impact felt. Didn't feel like he could quite be himself, so then it allows Kam Kinchens to be able to get a bunch of reps that he wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And I do think that he used the week of preparation because we were a little bit limited with Kam Curl's reps. Kam Kinchens got those. So he was able to get those. I thought it showed with the way that he was able to play, and we're hopeful that Kam Curl will start getting healthier and healthier. Didn't have any sort of setbacks, but being able to get Kam Kinchens those opportunities was cool. And I think if there's one thing our defensive staff has done really well, it's utilizing all of the guys that are up and active on our defensive side of the football, finding their strengths and continuing to create personnel groupings that match it for us to be able to put pressure on the opposing offense.
Many of whom are undrafted players, day 3 picks. They've done a great job there. One more about Seattle. What about that Seahawks fan in the corner and the relationship you have going up against him?
You know, so he's always had some fun with me, going back to even the first time that we go there, where it's like, you know, you need a babysitter for McVay. You know, you hired a head coach that still needs a babysitter. But, you know, Billy Nays, who used to work here with me as my right-hand man, you know, he had worked in Seattle, so he kind of introduced me to him. And he is, you know, he has some pretty good wit. I mean, some of the signs, I mean, they'll hurt your feelings if you let him. I mean, he had one yesterday. He said, "Fire McVay. We need an assistant special teams coach." I got a good little laugh running in from warm-ups. That was pretty good. But he's always a good sport. You know, we've had 9 opportunities since I've been here to go up there, and we've come away with, you know, the result that we're hunting up 6 of those 9 times. And so he's always been pretty fair. And then he'll always dap the guys up, you know, afterwards, and then he'll try to rub it in if you don't get the results you want.
Do you see Rams Social? Got him with the Rams win sign at the end?
I saw Kyron was holding it and flashing it in his face, and you know, he allows it to go both ways, so he's a fair participant.
Yeah, I love going up there. It's a good place to play football.
It is.
All right, the Miami Dolphins, I think probably the best 2-6 team I can think of in recent memory. There's no way their record is reflective of who they are.
Heck no. You know, we'll dive into the preparation once you and I finish up, but just seeing especially the spark that Tua has brought them the last couple weeks. You look at 2 of the better teams in the NFL, the way they've played over the last few weeks, and the Cardinals and the Bills, and they're wire to wire with them. And so they've got great playmakers. They're really well coached. They've got great players on defense. And so, you know, we've got our work cut out for us. And it'll be nice to be back at home on Monday night. But we got to have a great week, and it's going to be a great challenge.
Supremely motivated team, too. When you look at what's left on their schedule, they still can do it. Buffalo's kind of running away with that division, but they're going to bring their best swing.
No question. And we're going to hopefully give our best, and we'll see what happens.
Thanks for stopping by, Sean.
Thanks, JB.
Enjoy the bonus day.
Yeah.
And looking forward to Monday Night Football.
Appreciate
Sean McVay
you,
and the Coach's Show, always presented by Microsoft Surface.